If you love movies and movie discussions, you've come to the right place. Whom are you ask? I am the Wiz, and I'm here today to review the 2024 sci-fi epic Dune Part 2, starring Timothee Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Austin Butler, and Zendaya, directed by Denis Villeneuve. So I'm going to just start off with what I thought of the first Dune, which was in 2021. Me and Zero reviewed it 2 years ago when this podcast was the Capital Games Movie Club. Man, those are memories. Jeez. That feels like ages ago. But anyway, basically, it was hard to really review it on the terms of story because it was an incomplete story. But overall, I gave it like a 3 stars out of 5. I thought it was good. I did enjoy it. I think the visuals and the music was outstanding in the movie, and I thought the performances were pretty good. But I just had a problem with the fact that it just felt incomplete, so I really couldn't give it a definitive score at that point. So let's get into it. Let's get into the review of Dune Part 2, directed by Denis Villeneuve. Before that, let's get into the plot. Paul Atreides, played by Timothee Chalamet, unites with Chari of the Freeman, played by Zendaya, while seeking revenge against the conspirators who destroyed his family. Facing a choice between the love of his life and the fate of the universe, he must prevent a terrible future only he can foresee. A lot of Dune Part 2 are going to be very similar in opinion that I have with Part 1. And one of it is that the visuals and music are outstanding. They're stunning in this movie. The way that the film is shot and the cinematography and how everything is positioned in this movie is incredibly well done. It's beautiful to watch in almost every scene in the film. Whether you're in the sand or you're in the Harkonnens' home and everything, it's all stunning to look at. Again, the performances are also good in this one, but I think the best performance of the film is actually Austin Butler, who plays one of the villains in this movie, and he is just crazy in this movie. He does a really good job playing that villain. But I guess the other ones would be Rebecca Ferguson. I thought was really good as Paul's mom in this movie. And then I would say Timothee Chalamet is probably the third one as well. I think his performance is also very good in this. But to me, the best performance is Austin Butler. He's outstanding in it. Now that I have seen both movies, I will say that the world seems fully realized and vibrant, and it's filled with political intrigue. I think some of the best parts of this movie is the world building and how it tries to envelope you into this world that is incredibly realized and just really well done. And then the political story that is underpinning the entire film is also really well done. So if you're into stories that has a lot of political intrigue and it is a lot about trying to teach you of the world that's inhabiting, this is a really good movie to watch. I would say this reminded me a lot of Game of Thrones, where the world building that they would do in that show was just unparalleled, and I think this is around that quality as well when it comes to world building. Now, comparing it to Game of Thrones is apt in another reason too, because Game of Thrones definitely had good world building, but it also had a fatal flaw, which was that the characters were not as interesting, and I think that's a problem with Dune as well in this movie. You know a lot about Paul, you know a lot about his mother, but with the other characters, they're kind of one note in this. They're not bad. I'm not going to say that they are bad in that sense, but I definitely felt like I wish there was more depth to a lot of the characters, including Zendaya's character. I would have liked to have known more about that. The romance between Paul and Chani in this movie just is instantaneous. It's one, like by 15 minutes of the film, they hint at it and then they're lovers like that. And I wish there was more with that relationship. The only 2 characters that you get to know a lot about are Paul and his mom, and that is essentially it. And that's kind of disappointing because you're surrounded by these characters, the Freeman, for the vast majority of the film, and you don't know much about them. So I think that was pretty disappointing. And I will say this, Part 2 definitely told a story arc when it came to Paul. But I'm still not entirely satisfied with the arc that they gave in this movie. It definitely feels complete. They told a complete story of Paul from when he was with his family to what he has become now, and that feels like it's complete. But again, it just doesn't feel like it's incredibly realized and fully fleshed out. And that might have to do with the fact that they had to cut a lot of stuff from the book, because I think the book Dune is incredibly dense. Even though I know it's a beloved book, but there's probably a lot that they cut out of the book to put into the movie. So I can probably guess that's probably why some of it doesn't feel all that satisfying. All right, and here are the footnotes for Dune Part 2. Maybe this should have been a TV series? Again, comparing this to Game of Thrones. If Game of Thrones was put into a movie, they would have to cut so much stuff out that it would just feel a lot of the flavor of that TV series would have not worked. And I think if you would have put Dune into a TV series, I think this would have been a lot better. It would have been actually a lot more interesting in my eyes, to be absolutely honest. But as a movie, I did enjoy it, but in the back of my mind, I was saying to myself, I would have really liked this to have been a TV series. Now, they're having a TV series on Max in November called Dune Prophecy. I'm not sure if it's like a prequel series, but I will be definitely interested in checking that out. I do like the world, and the things around it is very interesting. I just don't think the plot is all that great. It's understandable why I think a lot of people like this movie, like both movies. But I would have liked more characterization and a lot to get behind with the characters than I really got in this movie. So overall, I'm going to recommend Dune Part 2, a stunning movie, both visually and with the music. I think it's just outstanding to watch and listen to. There's some good performances. I think Austin Butler's performance is the best out of that. Man, I'm going to watch more of him. He's turning out to be a really good actor. And then Chalamet and Rebecca Ferguson, I think, are the other really good performances. But to me, honestly, the things that I like to watch in movies, which are great characters and an interesting storyline and plot, is not really there. But the world that the movie surrounds itself in is captivating enough where I found myself enjoying the movie for its 2-hour and 45-minute runtime. So overall, I'm going to recommend Dune Part 2. Check it out on Max if you have not seen it. Now, if you want my full review on this movie, you can go to my website at IamTheWiz.com. You'll have my full written review right on the site, along with a link to the video that has this review that you've just listened to. All right, so for Tuesday, I'll be reviewing Tokyo Story, directed by Yoshiro Ozu. Thursday, I'll be reviewing with Zero, A Touch of Zen, directed by King Hu. And on Saturday, I'm going to start a whole new franchise. I said I wasn't going to do this after we just did 25 films of Bond, but I just felt compelled to do this, but I'm giving Zero the time off on this because I would hate to do this to him again for another set of movies. I'm going to start watching all the Star Trek movies, and I'm going to start with Star Trek, the motion picture, directed by Robert Wise. For context, I've seen the remakes of Star Trek, the ones with Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto. Those are the only ones I've seen. The rest of them, I have never watched an episode of the TV series. I've never watched any of the movies. So this is going to be all fresh in my mind. So I am excited to check that out. So again, Tuesday I'll be reviewing Tokyo Story, directed by Yoshiro Ozu. Thursday, A Touch of Zen, directed by King Hu. And Saturday, Star Trek, the motion picture, directed by Robert Wise. I am The Wiz, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.